Welcome back to the Morning Blend. Well, most of us have heard that snoring is a sign of sleep apnea, but a lot of people never get help or see a doctor about it. So what makes people avoid treatment? Is it a fear of the unknown, or is it the thought of being diagnosed in a sleep lab?
Here to offer some alternative solutions so that everyone in the house can sleep easy is Dr. Madan Kandula from the Snoring Center at Advent. We joke about snoring. I mean, that's one. It's so fun to make fun of.
So
it is, but it's not, there's nothing funny about it. I mean,
Exactly.
it's sort of like one of those things, well, okay, everybody makes light of it, but if you are a snorer or you've been around a snorer and you wake up in the morning and there's nothing funny about it, honestly. I mean, it's just miserable.
And it can truly affect relationships,
it does.
right?
That's one of the key things it does impact is, you know, it's a wedge. I mean, especially if it happens nightly, which is real typical for somebody with sleep apnea or chronic snoring. It's every single night, day in, day out. And yeah, I can guarantee you ask, you know, somebody who's been sleeping next to somebody who's been snoring all night, and you know, is that funny in the morning?
It ain't
no,
funny.
It's not funny
A lot of people will even separate their bedrooms.
Absolutely.
You know, it's
Very
simply
commonly.
because they need to get good sleep.
Yeah.
Why do you think people don't seek treatment?
Fear, you know, I guess the fear and lack of understanding, those two things. And so I think on one hand, it's nice that folks have heard the words of sleep apnea and everybody's heard snoring for ages, but, you know, to truly understand, well, what does that mean? What's the implication? What can we do about it? Everybody sort of gets a little bit of information and assumes it's sort of a one-way road to this one thing that they don't want, and without any explanation for what's going on. And so that's sort of at the very beginning of well, how do we, you know, figure out what's going on, is talking through the issues, and then once we figure out what's going on, explaining what's going on and what are the options.
Is it difficult to diagnose sleep apnea? Is it easy to tell if it's yes or no?
It is hard to know for sure if you're on your own trying to figure it out, because it can be, you can miss it either way. You can think somebody has it and doesn't, or vice versa. It's really easy to figure out nowadays. We have home sleep studies which are simple. So
you don't have to do a sleep lab?
You don't have to go to sleep lab. It's a very simple sort of head strap looking thing. You go to sleep with it one night, bring it back, download the information. It tells us whether somebody's snoring, if they're stopping breathing, if they are stopping breathing, how many times. You know, gets all that information that we need. Once we have that information, and once we've, again, talked it through and looked at somebody, then we can kind of walk through the different options, and it's not a one-size-fits-all by any means.
Well, and when you kind of refer to this one-size-fits-all, or people are afraid you're going to go down this one path, you're really referring to the CPAP machine. A lot of people are afraid to need a CPAP machine. Why is that? Is it because it sounds like a disturbing apparatus to have around?
I mean, it is a foreign device that's on you when you're sleeping at night. I'd say the same thing. Folks have nowadays, I think most folks have heard of it, most folks have maybe even seen it. Do you truly understand what the purpose of that is? What is it trying to do for you? Has somebody taken the time to explain that to you? And oftentimes it's a no. I mean, we see folks, you know, really every hour of every day who've gone elsewhere, sought out treatment, try to do the right thing, and get handed a machine without any explanation and say, hey, this is this is it. It's not an option. This is what we're going to do for you, and take it or leave it, like it or not, this is what's going to happen. And yeah, I mean, if for anything else in life you're handed, you know, that sort of explanation for something, you're not going to like it. I wouldn't like it, and so that's not appropriate. Now, the machine is not your enemy, so there are times where the machine is absolutely the right fit for somebody, and if that's true, then it's our job to explain why is that true. And I think if somebody hears a valid explanation for, you know, the pros and cons of treating sleep apnea versus not, you know, you can do what you want. It's your life, but, you know, most folks will choose to do the right thing.
So let's break it down for people who snore. And let's start with people who snore and they have sleep apnea. Then we'll talk about options for people who snore, but they don't have sleep apnea.
Right.
So starting with the people who actually do have a diagnosable sleep apnea, is there anything that you can do that's better or different than a lot of the sleep centers out there?
Yeah, we have options. So the machine is one option. The machine is, you know, for those that don't know, is just pushing air in through ideally the nose and the back of the throat to keep the back of your throat open, so you're not stopping breathing at night. But there are other options. There are oral appliances, which are devices you can wear in your mouth to help to open up the airway. There are surgical procedures that are great fit for some folks. So some folks are really, really ideal candidates for having something done, either in-office procedures or more typical surgical procedures that have a high likelihood of making a big difference.
Because of anatomy.
Because of anatomy. And so if you are in that category, then you ought to know about it, and you ought not to be just handed something to say, this is the only option. This is one option, and doesn't mean that you have to do that, but I'd say, well, it'd be nice to know that option versus other options. And I think, again, coming back to why are folks fearful of seeking out treatment, it's just that lack of understanding, and it isn't. I mean, everybody is truly different. The situation is different. Your anatomy is different. You know, there's a lot of different factors that are in play, and sometimes it's trying to figure out, you know, how can we get around the barriers, the roadblocks for you to get where we're trying to go.
So then make sure you get to the part about people who snore, but they don't have sleep apnea. Are are there solutions for them?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's tends to be, you know, an easier way or easier situation to deal with. So if somebody has snoring, that means they're rattling the back of the throat without actually stopping breathing going on back there. And so in that situation, a lot of times for both sleep apnea sufferers and snoring sufferers, it's, well, the start of your airway is your nose. If your nose isn't working, we're kind of dead in the water. So can we do something to get the nose working better? And a lot of times that can get us on the right foot. And then that, you know, maybe the next step is, you know, something simple. We have office-based procedures to stiffen the palate. There are a lot of different ways we can come after the situation, especially for folks who snore. That's generally something we can manage pretty easily.
Yeah, I know you encourage spouses, people like that, to talk to you as well, people to come in, and you really do not use a one-size-fits-all approach. So it's just really great that you customize and you really give all the options available. Here's how you can contact the Snoring Center at Advent, so you can maybe do one of those home sleep studies or just have a conversation about you or your spouse. Advent Snoring Center is right on Mayfair Road in Tosa. There's also one on Port Washington Road in Mequon. To call for more information or make an appointment or just consult, 414-771-6780, or visit online at advent.md. For Dr. Madan Kandula. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
See you.
No more.
Yeah, no more.
That's right.
Exactly.
Nice.